Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to For Strategy Gaming. And what is this? A strategy video? Oh my, it's been far too long, my dear old friend. And I'm glad to finally be reunited with you. Strategy videos is where I staked my claim, and it's where I definitely want to be, and the thing I definitely want to focus on. And I'm glad to finally have another video for you guys. So today we're going to be looking at a Protoss strategy video. And the player presenting the strategy to us will be White Raw. So the Protoss player is White Raw, and our Zerg opponent is Abver. Let's go right into White Raw vision. So what are we going to be looking at today? Well, we're starting out with a little bit of Zerg harassment. Now, we are all well aware of the fact that harassing Zerg is fun. No, we're all aware of the fact that Zerg players like to fast expand. That's pretty well known. It's very necessary in many cases. Zerg players cannot stay on equal bases to their opponent for very long before they start to fall behind. You can start off as Zerg on one base play and try to push and be aggressive early on, but if you stay on the same amount of bases as your opponent as Zerg, you do definitely fall behind. So with that said, with that kind of in our noggin, with that in our brain, with that idea, you have to realize that if you can prevent your Zerg opponent from expanding as much as you are, then you are going to be at a tremendous advantage. So what are we going to be looking at today as Protoss? Well, this has been around for a little while now, and we've been seeing many players do that, and it's something that I kind of want to remind you guys, or if you haven't tried it before, I want to show you guys the idea of blocking off your opponent's ramp. Not completely, but blocking it off with a couple of pylons and some cannons and preventing that expansion. And then to add to it, getting an expansion yourself. Now this is going to do two things. Again, it's going to deny your opponent's expansion, but it's going to give you a tremendous advantage. Now we can see here, due to that Overlord scout, the Abver was aware that this was happening. He saw that forge going down, so he was aware that this was likely. Bringing the drone down to try to prevent it, and you're going to see those additional drones go down. Now the idea here is that you want to get a couple of pylons up, and then you're also going to want to, of course, get your cannons up. Now we can see here him attacking this pylon and doing quite a bit of damage. Scouting the base just to check exactly what's going on. We want to see if there's anything fancy. That's basically the idea. But again, your goal here is to just get a couple of pylons down. Now already there's an advantage for us. Pulling all of those drones off the line, that does set the Zerg opponent back. It's pretty obvious there, but we're going to move down and still try to continue doing what we're doing. He's not going to leave all of his drones down there indefinitely. You know, that'd be really bad for him. So he was forced to bring those drones back to start mining, and there we go, continuing up this pylon drop, and then going to follow it up with some cannons. That's the idea. As soon as that first pylon's up, we're going to follow up with some cannons. We can see already over here from all of this distracting and obnoxious play by the Protoss player, we are able to get up this expansion pretty much no problem. It was so distracting for the Zerg player, just having to deal with this, having to pull his drones off the line. All that time stopped mining. So doing this again, you might say, well, what if he just canceled that expansion? If he canceled that expansion, then great. That is kind of a really good situation for you. The idea is to just stop this expansion from going down one way or another, whether or not it's your cannons that kill it, or whether or not it's him just canceling it. If you can stop him from expanding and expand yourself, then you're going to be in a solid position. Now let me talk about this timing here. Realize, I've said this before, you know, when I first started doing the strategy videos, these build orders are not rigid. You know, you're not supposed to follow these supply by supply, just to kind of give you a general guideline. So opening up with a 9 pylon, and that was followed up with a 12 forge. And then, you know, moving into the opponent's base, checking exactly what's going on, looking for the creation of that spawning pool, how far along it was, and everything like that. Then deciding to go ahead and get the Nexus, and that came down to 18 supply. Now 21 supply is when we saw the gateway drop down, and then 26 supply there's going to be an Assimilator, but that isn't here quite yet. The important thing to realize again is getting these pylons up, and then getting some cannons up. Close enough to the expansion, of course, so that the cannons can attack it, and that is your goal. Now you may ask, why did the Zerg player not just cancel that expansion and then just try to defend? Well, at that point, he hadn't even had his spawning pool up, and that was the whole point of the scouting. That was what we saw White Raw doing, moving inside of the base, checking to see how far along the spawning pool is up. And in seeing that the spawning pool was not up, he just went ahead and decided to continue what he was doing. And because he was so far behind in actually getting his spawning pool up, he had really no other choice but to keep going along with what he was doing. So that's kind of the general idea. Now over here you can see in White Raw's base, going to continue to macro up, and that's your plan. You know, if you stop this expansion and you don't die to a counterattack. Now that's the real big threat, and that's what we have to kind of realize. After this point, we stop the expansion. We realize the opponent's on one base. He's kind of in a bind right now. He can get roaches. He can try to deal with this. There's obviously options that he has. But realize again, if you can deny that counterattack from being super effective, when that counterattack comes, and it will happen after doing this, you can expect that attack. When it happens, if you survive it, you win the game. I mean, there's no way, you know, aside from some huge blunder, having such a huge advantage in getting that expansion over your opponent is just too much. He won't be able to overcome it. So here we go. We see that Zergling counterattack pushing out right now. And as long as you can prevent this from doing a lot of damage, again, you're going to be in a really solid position. We got this one Zealot right here. You can see dropping down a cannon at the expansion. That stuff is going to help a little bit. It's going to pick off a couple of Zerglings. And, I mean, look, he's got a couple of Zerglings in our base. This is obviously nothing to worry about. Just send your probes out to attack and not a problem. You have, of course, to worry about things like Roach counterattacks. Now, we can see here the excellent placement of this Pylon by White Raw. What does this do? Well, it gives those cannons vision to the high ground. So even if Roaches push out and try to kill this Pylon, the cannons are going to have vision, and they're going to, at the very least, take a few shots. So that's the idea. That's the whole plan there. And just chasing around those Zerglings with these Zealots, and you should have not much of a problem. You can see at this point, too, that Cybernetics Core is in, and we've got a couple additional gateways going down. As far as timing, the Cybernetics Core went down at 40 supply, and these two additional gateways, and 3 there, went down at 40 supply. So that's when we saw those drop down. But the idea, the general theory here, is that you start off with that 9 Pylon, that 12 Forge, and then you move out to your Zerg opponent's base. You put down 2 Pylons, try to block off the ramp a little bit, and then a cannon. And you want to make sure, again, that that cannon is close enough to the expansion to be able to attack it. And if you get that up, you are pretty much looking pretty good right there. Now, he's got different options. He's got Roaches. He can maybe Baneling Bus. He could try to get through the front wall that way. But either way, if you can deny this expansion and get up the expansion, that's kind of the whole purpose. However you do it, by him canceling his expansion or by him just not even putting down the expansion at all and just going for the one base play, you're going to be in a really strong position. So that's the idea. That's the theory. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Do what you can to stop the Zerg expanding. Expand yourself, and you're going to be sitting pretty. You're just going to have such a huge economic advantage. You're going to start to get your upgrades up, and yeah, you'll be in a really solid spot. So once again, guys, this has been Force from Force Strategy Gaming. Welcome back to the strategy videos. Happy to do this for you guys. I'm going to actually come out with another strategy video, I think, as well. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, as always, guys, keep watching and keep owning. Upgrades. There we go. That's just about finished. Layer coming in right now. I'm probably going to be seeing this expansion very shortly. And here we go. A bunch of Banelings going to be moving in. So HeyPro doing what he needs to do to defend against this early push. And here comes the push right now. First show. Now he might want to wait till that Stim Pack and Combat Shield finishes. That's going to make quite the difference. And there you go. You can see him pulling back right now. So he is going to do just that. As soon as that Stim Pack and Combat Shield finishes, though, he might feel comfortable enough to push out. But no reason to move in until that is finished. Until your units get that extra advantage from those upgrades.